Hello and happy Friday. I'm Anson, and this week we're continuing our study of what it means to be a steward of the King. As we think about our year, looking ahead to 2024, what does it mean to be a steward of the resources that God has put into your hands and my hands? So we've been taking this journey through the Bible, and we went all the way back to creation to see how God, the owner of everything, gives generously and how our stewardship should be a reflection of his ownership. We saw last week how the Old Testament is really this training season for God's people to learn his ways and how his economy works. And so all the laws and requirements of the Old Testament that we don't see translating into the New Testament were there to train God's people, kind of like students. And we saw that because of that, we're invited as Christians, followers of Jesus, God's people in the New Covenant, New Testament era, we're called to grow up from students to stewards, to live out of our own accord the principles of stewardship that we see in the Bible, even beyond what is required of us technically. And this week we come to a really important sort of next step in this journey where we're going to see what Jesus himself has to say, what came from the mouth of Jesus regarding our stewardship of God's resources. How do we use our time, our talents, our treasures, and what does that mean? About 25 years ago, Randy Alcorn, who's a well-known author, wrote lots of books, translated a bunch of languages. He wrote a book called The Treasure Principle, that became really kind of an instant classic in terms of stewardship and understanding what Jesus had to say about it. And he opens with this story of a Jewish man who's walking through a field and he stumbles across this buried treasure in the field and he realizes, oh my goodness, there's an incredible amount of wealth in this box and it's buried in this field that nobody seems to know about. And how he runs and quickly sells everything that he has to buy this field so that he can own the treasure that's in the field. And so this is a parable that Jesus actually told in the Gospel of Matthew as an illustration of stewardship, what it means to leverage all that we have in order to gain so much more. And that's really the principle we're going to talk about this week. And I don't know about you, but that's somewhat surprising to me that Jesus is so bold in saying, take action so that you might store up so much more treasure than you ever could have imagined. So we're going to see more about what Jesus has to say about how we use our time, talent, and treasure this week. We're continuing to build this layer of principles, what it means to be a steward of the King in 2024. I hope you'll join us either online or in person. And until then, have a great weekend.